creating a sustainable lifestyle. Defining its core values, XUAN Holdings dedicates its resources, will, and orientation to build a prestigious and effective business through the provision of quality and sustainable products, with the spirit of serving in an honest manner and satisfying the core needs of society. Over 25 years of establishment and development, XUAN Holdings has been known for its high-quality products in the fields of real estate, renewable energy, trade and services, construction materials, and expanding development into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics. 1996, being the pioneer in bringing Piaggio, Italian brand motorbikes to Vietnam, and successfully developing this product line across the country. 2005, participating in the real estate sector and successfully building the St. Villas Township brand, the beginning of the corporate sustainable development strategy, creating momentum for XUAN Holdings to confidently develop other real estate projects across the country. 2016, being the strategic shareholder of Construction Materials Corporation No. 1 FICO. 2017, participating in the field of renewable energy and left a mark in the market with the largest cluster of solar power plants in Southeast Asia, Youting 1, 2, and 3, with a total capacity of 500 megawatt and COD in June 2019. This is also the premise for the corporation to continue to develop 2,000 megawatt in Youting area and other renewable energy projects such as 120 megawatt Soctran No. 7 wind power plant, which COD on October 24, 2021, 60 megawatt Nhân Hoi wind power plant Bình Định, which COD on October 31, 2021. 2020 solidified the corporate strategic sustainable development goals, conforming to the principles of clean and sustainable development under international standards in real estate field, H, LEED, Greenmark, Lotus. 2021, the corporation took a strong step into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics, with the LIQUAN Free Trade Logistics and Industrial Zone project was given the investment registration certificate by the Haiphong Economic Zone Authority, HEZA. At the moment, it is the golden period for the project to move to the investment and construction phase and be ready to welcome large domestic and international investors. With the orientation of sustainable development, XUAN Holdings focuses on the nationwide development of real estate projects committed to bringing high-class products. St. Villas Township located at Tien Xuân, Thạch Thất, Hanoi, total area of 45 hectares. St. Villas was honored to be awarded the Gold Award at the first National Urban Planning Award. Van Giang Eco City, located at Van Giang Commune, Hưng Yên Province, total area 198 hectares. Van Giang Ecological Urban Area is proud to be awarded the Gold Award at the second National Urban Planning Award. Yên Binh Eco Housing, located at Yên Binh, Thạch Thất, Hanoi, total area 6.42 hectares. Diamond Phoenix Hill Complex, located at No. 1 Nguyen Chi Thang, Thang Tham Ward, Vung Tau City, Barrier Vung Tau Province, total area 13,000 square meters. Gold Coast Ecotourism, an urban area situated at the gate of Quy Nhơn City, Phuoc Thuan, Tuy Phuoc, Binh Dinh Province, total area 130 hectares. Dao Nhiem Eco Resort, located at Sui Da, U Minh Châu, Tây Ninh Province, total area 431.9 hectares. With the goal of becoming a prestigious multi-industry corporation in Vietnam, XUAN Holdings is ready to cooperate with leading domestic and international partners. XUAN Holdings, devote the true values. Creating a sustainable lifestyle. Defining its core values. CAU Holdings dedicates its resources, will, and orientation to build a prestigious and effective business through the provision of quality and sustainable products, with the spirit of serving in an honest manner and satisfying the core needs of society. Over 25 years of establishment and development, CAU Holdings has been known for its high-quality products in the fields of real estate, renewable energy, trade and services, construction materials, and expanding development into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics. 1996, being the pioneer in bringing Piaggio, Italian brand motorbikes to Vietnam, and successfully developing this product line across the country.
Ladies and gentlemen. Our webinar will be started in 10 more minutes. Xin chào tất cả quý vị tham gia cái buổi hội nghị ngày hôm nay. Thì buổi hội nghị của chúng ta sẽ bắt đầu trong vòng 10 phút nữa.
Ladies and gentlemen, our webinar will start in 10 minutes.
2017, participating in the field of renewable energy and left a mark in the market with the largest cluster of solar power plants in Southeast Asia, Youting, 1, 2, and 3, with a total capacity of 500 megawatt and COD in June 2019. This is also the premise for the corporation to continue to develop 2,000 megawatt in Youting area and other renewable energy projects such as 120 megawatt XUAN No. 7 wind power plant, which COD on October 24, 2021. 60 megawatt Nhân wind power plant Bindin, which COD on October 31, 2021. 2020 solidified the corporate strategic sustainable development goals, conforming to the principles of clean and sustainable development under international standards in real estate field, Edge, LEED, Greenmark, Lotus. 2021, the corporation took a strong step into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics, with the Lai Free Trade Logistics and Industrial Zone project was given the investment registration certificate by the Huang Economic Zone Authority.
Before the meeting starts, I would like to guide online audiences on the language selection because we have interpreters in English and Vietnamese. If you would like to listen to the webinar in English, please find the globe icon in the bottom right of the meeting screen and choose English. Thank you.
Creating a sustainable lifestyle. Defining its core values. CAU Holdings dedicates its resources, will, and orientation to build a prestigious and effective business through the provision of quality and sustainable products, with the spirit of serving in an honest manner and satisfying the core needs of society. Over 25 years of establishment and development, CAU Holdings has been known for its high-quality products in the fields of real estate, renewable energy, trade and services, construction materials, and expanding development into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics. 1996, being the pioneer in bringing Piaggio, Italian brand motorbikes to Vietnam, and successfully developing this product line across the country. 2005, participating in the real estate sector and successfully building the St. Villars Township Plan, the beginning of the corporate sustainable development strategy, creating momentum for Sunco Holdings to confidently develop other real estate projects across the country. 2016, being the strategic shareholder of Construction Materials Corporation No. 1 FICO. 2017, participating in the field of renewable energy and left a mark in the market with the largest cluster of solar power plants in Southeast Asia, Youting 1, 2, and 3, with a total capacity of 500 megawatt and COD in June 2019. This is also the premise for the corporation to continue to develop 2,000 megawatt in Youting area and other renewable energy projects such as 120 megawatt XUAN No. 7 wind power plant, which COD on October 24, 2021. 60 megawatt Nyanhoi wind power plant Bindin, which COD on October 31, 2021. 2020 solidified the corporate strategic sustainable development goals, conforming to the principles of clean and sustainable development under international standards in real estate field, H, LEED, Greenmark, Lotus. 2021, the corporation took a strong step into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics, with the Liquid Free Trade Logistics and Industrial Zone project was given the investment registration certificate by the Haiphong Economic Zone Authority, HEZA. At the moment, it is the golden period for the project to move to the investment and construction phase and be ready to welcome large domestic and international investors. With the orientation of sustainable development, Sunco Holdings focuses on the nationwide development of real estate projects committed to bringing high-class products. St. Villars Township located at Tien Xuan, Tec Tut, Hanoi, total area of 45 hectares. St. Villars was honored to be awarded the Gold Award at the first National Urban Planning Award. Van Giang Eco City, located at Van Giang Commune, Huang Yên Province, total area 198 hectares. Van Giang Ecological Urban Area is proud to be awarded the Gold Award at the second National Urban Planning Award. Yên Binh Eco Housing, located at Yên Binh, Tec Tut, Hanoi, total area 6.42 hectares. Diamond Phoenix Hill Complex, located at No. 1 Nguyen Chi Thang, Tang Tam Ward, Vung Tau City, Barrier Vung Tau Province, total area 13,000 square meters. Gold Coast Ecotourism, an urban area situated at the gate of Quy Nhon City, Phuoc Tuan, Tuy Phuoc, Binh Dinh Province, total area 130 hectares. Dao Nhim Eco Resort, located at Sui Da, U Minh Châu, Tây Ninh Province, total area 431.9 hectares. With the goal of becoming a prestigious multi-industry corporation in Vietnam, Sunco Holdings is ready to cooperate with leading domestic and international partners. Sunco Holdings, devote the true values. Creating a sustainable lifestyle. Defining its core values. Sunco Holdings dedicates its resources, will, and orientation to build a prestigious and effective business through the provision of quality and sustainable products, with the spirit of serving in an honest manner and satisfying the core needs of society. Over 25 years of establishment and development, Sunco Holdings has been known for its high-quality products in the fields of real estate, renewable energy, trade and services, construction materials, and expanding development into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics. 1996, being the pioneer in bringing Piaggio, Italian brand motorbikes to Vietnam, and successfully.
大家我们稍微晚一点开始啊，这个就是因为 我们这个是台越的这个连线啊，那个越南的能源局长啊，因为他们非常重视啊，说越南的能源局长他刚刚开完另外一个会议啊，正在赶到这个会场的这个路上啊，所以我们稍微等一下，我们大概晚个15分钟开始。
Being the strategic shareholder of Construction Materials Corporation No. 1 FICO. 2017, participating in the field of renewable energy and left a mark in the market with the largest cluster of solar power plants in Southeast Asia, Youting 1, 2, and 3, with a total capacity of 500 megawatt and COD in June 2019. This is also the premise for the corporation to continue to develop 2,000 megawatt in Youting area and other renewable energy projects such as 120 megawatt XUAN No. 7 wind power plant, which COD on October 24, 2021. 60 megawatt Nyeonhoi wind power plant Bindin, which COD on October 31, 2021. 2020 solidified the corporate strategic sustainable development goals, conforming to the principles of clean and sustainable development under international standards in real estate field, H, LEED, Greenmark, Lotus. 2021, the corporation took a strong step into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics, with the Liquid Free Trade Logistics and Industrial Zone project was given the investment registration certificate by the Haiphong Economic Zone Authority, HEZA. At the moment, it is the golden period for the project to move to the investment and construction phase and be ready to welcome large domestic and international investors. With the orientation of sustainable development, SUNCO Holdings focuses on the nationwide development of real estate projects committed to bringing high-class products. Saints Villas Township located at Tien Xuan, Tec Tut, Hanoi, total area of 45 hectares.
Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting will be start in the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
Van Giang Eco City, located at Van Giang Commune, Huang Yên Province, total area 198 hectares. Van Giang Ecological Urban Area is proud to be awarded the Gold Award at the 2nd National Urban Planning Award.
Before the meeting starts, I would like to guide online audiences on the language selection because we have interpreters in English and Vietnamese. If you would like to listen to the webinar in English, please find the clock icon in the bottom right of the meeting screen and choose English. Thank you.
Gold Coast Ecotourism, an urban area situated at the gate of Quy Nhon City, Phuoc Thuan, Tuy Phuoc, Binh Dinh Province, total area 130 hectares. Dao Nhim Eco Resort, located at Sui Da, U Minh Châu, Tây Ninh Province, total area 431.9 hectares. With the goal of becoming a prestigious multi-industry corporation in Vietnam, SUNCO Holdings is ready to cooperate with leading domestic and international partners. SUNCO Holdings, devote the true values. Creating a sustainable lifestyle. Defining its core values. SUNCO Holdings dedicates its resources, will, and orientation to build a prestigious and effective business through the provision of quality and sustainable products, with the spirit of serving in an honest manner and satisfying the core needs of society. Over 25 years of establishment and development, SUNCO Holdings has been known for its high-quality products in the fields of real estate, renewable energy, trade and services, construction materials, and expanding development into the field of industrial infrastructure and logistics. 1996, being the pioneer in bringing Piaggio Italian brand motorbikes to Vietnam.
Ladies and gentlemen,
successfully
our
developing this
meeting will start in the next 2 minutes, so please have a seat. Thank you.
sector and successfully building the St. Village Township Plan, the beginning of the corporate sustainable development strategy, creating momentum for Sunco Holdings to confidently develop other real estate projects across the country. 2016, being the strategic shareholder of Construction Materials Corporation No. 1 FICO. 2017, participating in the field of renewable energy and left a mark in the market with the largest cluster of solar power plants in Southeast Asia, Youting 1, 2, and 3, with a total capacity of 500 megawatt and COD in June 2019. This is also the premise for the corporation to continue to develop 2,000 megawatt in Youting area and other renewable energy projects such as 120 megawatt SOCTRAN No. 7 wind power plant, which COD on October 24, 2021.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our webinar will start now. So please have a seat. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2022 Vietnam-Taiwan Offshore Wind Energy Webinar, organized by the Southeast Asia Impacts Alliance and Sunco Holding. I am Tạ Uyển Linh, your host for today. First of all, let me welcome our VIP guest. Warmly welcome from Taiwan side, Mr. Huang former representative of Taipei Economics and Cultural Office in Taiwan. Mr. Wu Fengxiu, representative of Bureau of Energy. Ms. Cai Xingyu, representative of Bureau of Energy. About Mr. Cheng Chongxian, Director of Energy Technology Divisions, Bureau of Energy, Ministry of Economic Affairs. Unfortunately, because he has an urgent meeting ad hoc today, so he's not be able to attend our event. Next, Mr. C.Y. Huang, founder of Southeast Asia Impacts Alliance. Mr. Zhang Qingfeng, former president of National Taiwan University of Oceanography, CEO of Mediterranean and Asia Marine Alliance. Moving to Vietnam side, please warmly welcome Mr. Huang Vinh, Chief of Secretariat, Central Economics Committees. Mr. To Dũng, Chairman of Sunco Holdings. Mr. Ngô Quốc Phương, Deputy Head of Investment Management Department of Vietnam Electricity. Mr. Nguyễn Thế Thắng, Head of Power System Development, Institute of Energy. Mr. Nguyễn Xuân Phương, Deputy Director of Renewable Energy Center, Institute of Energy. Ms. Tita Thi Nguyễn, Head of Representative Office, Senior Director of World Energy Council Vietnam. Associate Professor PhD Nguyễn Văn Nghĩa, World Energy Council Vietnam. And a very warm welcome to our guests presenting here today, and also all the audiences joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to go through today's agenda. Today, our webinar will cover two main topics. The first one is offshore wind power in Asia in the trend of global energy transitions, status quo, prospect, and experiences. The second topic is infrastructure construction, supply chains development, and logistics for offshore wind power developments. And after that, we will have the panel discussion part, which is led by our moderator, the founder of Southeast Asia Impacts Alliance, Mr. CY Huang, and Mr. Nguyễn Đức Cường, board member of Vietnam Electric City. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We are now moving to the welcoming remarks. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. CY Huang, founder of Southeast Asia Impacts Alliance, to deliver the organizer representative speech. Please welcome Mr. CY Huang.
Good afternoon. I'm CY Huang. Very glad to attend this event this afternoon. This is, as you can see, this is the first of its kind Taiwan-Vietnam offshore wind farm cooperation. In particular, I want to thank all the distinguished guests, from on the Vietnam side, including Mr. Tran from the director of the Institute of Energy, and Mr. Zhong, and the chairman of Sun Chao Holdings, among others. Today, and also, I want to thank, Mr. Huang and President Zhang, and many other guests this afternoon. The event today, I think that we set two records. The first is the record, the online cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam. This is not the first time I organized this event. In fact, in July, I organized a EV, electric vehicle event between Taiwan and Vietnam. This is the second industry I'm focusing on, and I think it has a tremendous potential. And also, it marks the first time, we have people from different backgrounds participating. We have offshore wind operators. We have many component and solution providers. We have people like myself, financiers, people from the accounting firms, from the management consulting firms. So it is really interdisciplinary, cover a lot of areas. You may wonder, why am I doing this? So for two reasons. Of course, my background, let me start. I'm an investment banker. I've been doing investment banking, focusing on IPO, mergers, acquisition for the last 35 years. But in recent years, I'm turning my attention to something bigger. I'm especially in terms of building ecosystem. So I choose industry. One of the industry I'm focusing on is offshore wind. That has something to do with my family business. My parents' business, Lianda Company, was established in 1959. My father passed away 6 years ago. I inherited as the chairman, transformed the company to an alternate renewable energy solution provider. Of course, there's a lot for us to learn from you expert, today. And I also set up because of that, I set up a MAMA, M-A-M-A, Mediterranean and Asia Marine Alliance. I am very fortunate to have President Zhang Qingfeng, the president, to be our chairman. President Zhang is the president of Haiyang Daxue, National Taiwan Ocean University for a long time. He is well established in the industry in Taiwan. So we are very honored to have President Zhang Qingfeng to chair MAMA, M-A-M-A. You may wonder why Mediterranean, because I also have something. Today we have some delegate from Israel as well. I have been doing business a long time with Israel. Israel is just next to Mediterranean, 地中海. So I link 地中海 with Asia. So that's the background. And another background for today is Southeast Asia. Taiwan, there is a new southbound policy, 新南向政策. And I established 2 years ago, almost 2 years, to be more exact, in January last year, I set up SIA, Southeast Asia Impact Alliance, 东南亚影响力联盟, 东南亚影响力联盟. As its name suggests, it is a platform connecting Taiwan with Southeast Asia. You may say, why? Why Southeast Asia? Because Taiwan needs to go abroad. I think in the past, Taiwan has been focusing too much on China, but you all know the geopolitical sensitivities these days. So Taiwanese companies are going two directions. One, like a TSMC, semiconductor, going Xindongxiang, going to the United States. But on the other hand, what about the other companies, including the IT industry, including the traditional manufacturing, service industry, as well as renewable energy industry? They need to find a new market, which is Southeast Asia. But however, Taiwanese companies do not understand Southeast Asia well. In the last 20 years, we've been focusing too much on China. And Southeast Asia is a complicated market. It's unlike China. Each country has its own language, its own unique culture. So we need to learn from the start. I'm doing this not for me as a personally making money. I want to do something for Taiwan. So I'm utilizing my 35 years experience as an investment banker and also among many countries. So I set up this SIA, 东南亚影响力联盟. It covers 9 countries in Southeast Asia, plus India. So 9 countries from Southeast Asia, plus India. But in the last 2 years, I'm focusing only on Vietnam, because I don't have that much energy. And Vietnam is the most promising market. I think many experts will tell you later. So we decided for this cooperation. So that's the second background. So why, the marine and Lian Fengdian, and why, the Southeast Asia. And today's event is a really combination of the two, So in terms of the Southeast Asia, I picked Vietnam. And what about the industry? I'm selecting industry for, as mentioned earlier, Lian Da Hang, my parents' company, and we are engaged in the offshore wind farm and other renewable energy solutions. So I think it is a good start. And then renewable energy is, in particular, offshore wind farm is booming in Taiwan and also in Vietnam. 2 of the most well-developed Lian Fengdian 市场 in Asia. Northeast Asia side is Taiwan. Southeast Asia side is Vietnam. Taiwan is surrounded by ocean, so it's a 海洋国家, the marine country and the ocean country. And then the Southeast Vietnam also is well established on that. In fact, many statistics later you will see that Vietnam is one of the best in terms of offshore wind farm amongst all Southeast Asia the countries. And then I had the pleasure that 3 months ago, when I visited Vietnam, I met with today's co-host, the Sun Ho, I need to pronounce the name right, Chun Chao Holdings, the group. I met with chairman, Chairman Su, and then he shared with me his vision. And I was deeply impressed with the many, later you will see, the many the renewable energy investment by Chunqiao Jituan in offshore wind as well as in solar. And then when I share my experience with the Chairman Su, he is also feeling excited. He feels that he can learn something from Taiwan. But we say Taiwan, we are also beginner, so we are struggling. Here we are offshore wind farm. Although we started 7 years, we cannot say we are doing very well. We are starting. But however, all the global players, including some of you, are visiting Taiwan and investing here, and there are some experience for us to share. So the purpose of today's is really focusing among our 2 countries and the most promising the industry, to exchange our relations. And I hope this is a beginning. So we are building this bridge, not for ourselves, but for you, for Taiwan, for Vietnam, for all the participants, which is yourself. So I welcome your participation today, and I welcome all the government officials as well as the enterprise participant from the Vietnam side. I hope this is a good beginning point, and hopefully we together, Taiwan and Vietnam, will set a new record of offshore wind farm, not only in Asia, but also in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for Mr. C.Y. Huang. Warm welcome. Now I would like to have the introduction from Vietnam side. It's our honor to have the attendance from Mr. Trần Tuệ Quang, Deputy Director of Electricity Regulatory Authority of Vietnam. Mr. Trần Tuệ Quang, Deputy Director of Electricity Regulatory Authority of Vietnam. Mr. Trần Kỳ Phúc, Director of Institute of Energy, Ministry of Industry and Trade, Vietnam. Next, for the Taiwan side, my honor to invite Mr. Huang Peng, the former representative of Taipei Economics and Cultural Office in Vietnam, to give us the first opening speech of today's. Please welcome Mr. Huang Peng.
Mr. C.Y. Huang, the founder and chairman of SIA and the host of today's event. Mr. Do Zong, chairman of Sun Go in Vietnam, who is on the screen. Dear distinguished guests, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to thank you all for being with us for today's very important event of Taiwan-Vietnam wind energy, offshore wind energy seminar or Omina. And I would like to extend my special thanks to Mr. Do Zong for his appearance on the screen to discuss with us, whom with his outstanding team we met in Hanoi back to 2 months ago, September. Mr. C.Y. just said, his team and himself gave us a very impressed feeling that this is really a very able and capable people on this spatial industry. In fact, I was very much expecting Mr. Zong, leading his outstanding team, to come over to Taiwan in person. In that case, I should feel so excited because even though I have retired from the government, I still continue to work very, very diligently in terms of pushing forward to improve the bilateral relations between Taiwan and Vietnam. So I have been always happy, excited, and pleased to see friends from Vietnam. Like yesterday night, I attended the 30 years anniversary after the establishment of the representatives of the two sides in each other side in 1992. Taiwan and Vietnam have many things in common. Our two people are so friendly to each other. Our economies are so supplementary, to which the cooperation is naturally needed. And that is no wonder why our bilateral relations have been developing to such a high level, as you can see it is now, 30 years after the establishment of the offices of each other's side. I can also foresee on today's topic that there will be a lot of opportunities to cooperate with each other. So I wish this Omina most successful one. And I wish every and each one of you would be able to find out your best partner to cooperate in the years to come. Lastly, I would say, chúc mừng các ông các bạn xuất khỏe, thành công 幸福啊等等，就是我讲越文啊，很多越南人听不太懂，但台湾人都听得懂，因为做suốt可就是健康嘛，祝团队就是顺利，祝谈工就成功啊，祝大家愉快幸福快今天研讨会非常成功，大家都找到合适的以后的合作对象，谢谢大家。
Thank you so much for Mr. Huang Chipeng. Next, we are pleased to have Mr. Zhang Jingfeng, former president of National Taiwan University of Oceanography, CEO of the Asia Mediterranean Ocean Alliance, to give us the next opening speech today.
First, I would like to congratulate and admire Chairman C.Y. Huang for his great energy to put two sides together between Taiwan and Vietnam, especially focus on offshore wind power, because this is a really hot topic in Taiwan. And today I know also very important in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam for several times, and most of my trip is for the education between the University of National Taiwan Ocean University with several universities of Vietnam, and also for aquaculture promotion, because Taiwan and Vietnam also very good. Two of very good aquaculture biotechnology in the world. I really admire and appreciate the dynamic of Vietnam, this young country, because it's full of energy, dynamic. And I could see the economic and also like the offshore. Many sector industry are moving very fast. So today we are very pleased to have this joint conference between Taiwan and Vietnam, especially SIA with XCH, Chunqiao. So I think Taiwan is one of the best offshore wind region compared with other places, North Europe and Taiwan. Both are very good. And Vietnam also very good potential. And Taiwan, you know, now is the century of net zero emission. Very important target for all of us. So in Taiwan, I believe up to 2050, we need to have almost 40 giga electricity need to be produced from the offshore wind. So it's really full of the more than 1,000 to 2,000 of the big wind will be on the sea. And Taiwan have earthquake, strong typhoon. So if Taiwan could be succeed, I believe Vietnam will be also very good to be succeed, because Taiwan, the environment is quite harsh. So I really believe Taiwan and Vietnam collaborate together will make the offshore wind power success, and very good for the global warming, global change, and wish our joint conference to be very successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zhang Jingfeng, for sharing. Now, from the Taiwan side, from the Vietnam side, my honor to have Mr. To Yong, Chairman of CAU Holdings, to deliver the last opening speech of today. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to extend my greetings to all of you who are participating in this webinar. I hope that this webinar will create opportunity for us to share directions and visions for offshore wind energy. And in addition, this is also an opportunity for us to exchange solutions or development options in offshore wind energy and explore the development policy of both countries. Especially, we'd like to learn from valuable experience of Taiwanese investors during the rapid development of offshore wind energy in Taiwan. Sincerely, I hope that this will allow the investors to have dialogue together, and Sunco Holdings can raise the interest from the Taiwanese investors. And I wish the webinar a lot of success, and I wish you health and success for the coming year.
Thank you, Mr. To Yung. Once again, please have a warm applause for our welcoming speaker today. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to start with the first topic: offshore wind power industry in Taiwan, current status, prospects, and experience. Now, my honor to invite Mr. CY Huang to share with us the current status of Taiwan offshore wind power industry. Please welcome Mr. CY Huang.
Thank you. Thank you. My topic for today's presentation is Taiwan offshore wind power development strategy and current status of promotion. I think this is many of you are in Taiwan today. You know, I know there are many industry participants, so you know definitely more than I do. You know, but I also still want I want to give this opportunity to our friends in Vietnam, because the purpose of the seminar, the webinar today, is to foster the cooperation of offshore wind farm between Taiwan and Vietnam. So I will give it a try. Next. 下一页. Okay, there are 5 parts of my speech today. The first is development strategy. You know, I will review the development of Taiwan's offshore wind farm in the last, shall I say, 7 years. You know, including 3 different phases. The industry linkage, which is our friends in Vietnam are very much concerned about the localization, you know, and promoting a component parts industry. And the second is the promotion status. The third is the advantages of offshore wind in Taiwan. The fourth is the challenges. And then the fifth is new opportunities. Next. Okay. And there are several phases, you know. So Taiwan started this actually quite early, almost 10 years ago. Taiwan's offshore wind power development first began in 2019. When the Bureau of Energy released a 4-year plan for wind power generation that specify a demonstration incentive program. So demonstration incentive. So we're starting from something as a sort of a sample, a demonstration, and then with 2 demonstration wind farms in the first phase, one led by SIA and the other by Taiwan Power. So in 2013, the demonstrator selection process completed. 2017, there are 2 demonstration units in Miaoli, and in 2021, and then the 2 demonstration wind farms kick off. You know, we are seeing that is the first phase. 下一页. Oh, okay. And then then we start on 2015, the Energy Bureau of Ministry of Economic Affairs announced the 36 potential sites in 2015. Developers must conduct environmental impact assessment. Environment. So Taiwan is very much concerned about environment for the sites. And only those who pass can be eligible for participation. So the total capacity plan was 5.5 gigawatts, of which 3.8 gigawatts was selected, and a total of 7 developers and 10 wind farms were selected. The developers who get selected, the wind farms using the barging rate, but they had to meet the industry relevance requirements. So 产业关联性, that is the localization. So the government hope to the technology will transform locally, working with a local participant. And the remaining 1.7 gigawatt was awarded to 2 developers and 4 wind farms in a competitive bidding process for a total of 14 cases in the second phase. Next. Okay, then came the third phase, which is what we are experiencing now. The Ministry of Economic Affairs has announced key points on capacity allocation for offshore power block development, 一块一块的 offshore block development. Formally finalize the rules for supplier selection. So you can see from here, there's a 2026 to 2035 total capacity, 1 gigawatt, the capacity review, and the building process. This is a government-led industry building process. And there's a lot of details. I wouldn't cover one by one, but the second stage is really depending on the selection results. On the first stage, international technology development and the separate planning will be made. 下一页. Okay, and and then comes to this page is fairly important about in Taiwan in particular industry linkage. What does that mean? 产业关联性, so that means it should be a link to the industry here in Taiwan, including the energy autonomy, so we want to build up a autonomous industrial chain, but there's a lot of debate lately where our energy is self-sufficient is still in doubt. As you know, that Taiwan is in a very sensitive period with mainland China, and energy is also the issues, especially as Taiwan to discontinue nuclear power by 2025, so all the more making renewable energy more important. And we want to so the governments want to maintain a stable supply of renewable energy. And what are the benefits to the industry? So there will the 2 years 3 gigawatt new output total value of 261 billion to support employment of 29,000 people, 2-3万个人. And also the government want to be the Asia base. So that makes today's discussion particularly relevant. So it is not only Taiwan, but the government certainly has Asian ambitions. But you may say, Taiwan 都做不好, how can we link with Asia? But we are echoing what the government do. So we are already building up the link with Vietnam. So that is a good start. I think we should think. One of the lessons from Taiwan we learned is that we should not just limit ourselves to Taiwan only, and we should not also limit ourselves to China market only. There are so much more for us to look at in Southeast Asia, and Vietnam is definitely our targets. How does it make it work? The practice is offshore wind farm developer will need to undertake to implement the 产业关联性 industry linkage program. And it needs to continue to develop emerging technology. I know some of you today are doing emerging technology, and also that there are various investment to follow. Industrial procurement, industrial cooperation, technology transfer, the industrial investment. And these are the things. I myself, I'm a banker. So I myself is fortunate to participate in one of the financing of the Offshore project. Offshore has a 1.6 billion project that is a joint venture with the CDPQ, which is the second largest pension fund from Canada. FCC partner, another company, the investment bank I'm affiliated with, is the advisor, financial advisor for CDPQ. And then in that 1.6 billion, the government also want to have a local participation. So we allocate 5% of the 1.6 billion, which is $80 million to 国泰私募基金, Cathay private equity, and that was also arranged by me. So I did have, from my limited knowledge about, 下一页, and to participate in this in this area, and then the industry linkage. There are many technical process. Okay, including the wind turbine, including the cabin assembly transformer. I know I just met a guy, that who is doing the transformer, 海上变电站, power supply, cable, wheel casting. In fact, in my meeting in Vietnam last time, with Chunqiao Holdings, they did express a strong interest to cooperate with a Taiwanese partner. So all of you here today, solution provider, technology provider, please work with our colleagues here in the SIA. We will put you together. Hopefully we can also transfer our know-how and solution, not only in Taiwan, but also to Southeast Asia. And then also including the more complicated stuff like gearboxes, generators, power converter system, power converter system among the others. So all of these, there's the industry linkage, meaning that the government wants the foreigners, the foreign technology providers to transfer the technology to Taiwan. Okay, and then so much about this. And then the next is the next page. Okay, these are the Phase 2, potential site, nationalization requirements. I get 国产化. That to be more correct, as I said, this is a localization. 下一页, localization, as I mentioned. And these two, okay. And then now we come to the 第三阶段, which is what we are facing now. The block development policy framework, so each block, so government as we understand, everybody is very exciting, to participate in the Phase 3 block development. 下一页. Next, then there's a selection process which requires technical capability 60%, financial capability the 40%. So that's the average. But then there's the local content. I want to point your attention to the area which is blue, which is a local industry-related development. The government is putting a particular emphasis on these are the parts where the operators can distinguish itself from other people in the local content. But that is also the tricky part. I know the European players, many of them are complaining to our government that they don't like this, because it makes complicated. The process get delayed, So there are some lessons to be learned. So we are facing two challenges. On the one hand, we need to speed up. But on the other hand, we also need to localize the technology transfer. Next. Okay, so these are the 4 goals, by the Taiwan government selected 2025. We doubt it can be achieved, but still we are trying, including building 5.7 gigawatt installation capacity and 21.5 billion kilowatts of electricity generated from offshore wind farms, generated 1 trillion in, this is in New Taiwan dollar terms, creating 20,000 jobs. So it is a challenge. And then I have to be frank to our friends in Vietnam that we are behind. But still, we are trying. There are a lot of lessons to be learned, and hopefully through our mutual exchange, we can gain some insight and also save you some time of a mistake. Next, 下一页, okay. And then this one is about the current promotion status. As you can see, our President Tsai Ing-wen proudly participated 2017 the official commercial transfer of 2 demonstration units. So this finally kick off. So anything, the government will do anything to make this offshore wind work. Next page. And then the phase 2, as you can see, the demonstration units. These are just some of the details. I wouldn't go through the details. One is in Miaoli, Zhunan Waihai. Another is in Zhanghua, the Fangyuan Waihai. Okay, next page. Okay, and this one is about the phase 2 potential sites. As you can see, the offshore farm. There are several players. The upper left is the Hainan Fengchang. The downside right left is Zhangfang Fengchang. The upper right is Dazhanghua Fengchang. And on the right hand below is the Yunling Yunneng Di'erqi. So the government is targeting to a total target of 2016 megawatt to be added by the end of 2022 with cumulative installed capacity of 2,253 megawatts. Okay, next page. Okay, now I have so many detailed statistics. Now let us review, the advantages of offshore wind power in Taiwan. The first is, of course, we have a policy. The government actually does. We have the 很多的官员这个经济部能源局的长官，so we have the comprehensive policy, complete policy attracting global players. The 5 years ago, all the global players, especially those from Europe, Denmark, many countries are here. So we see we see many players like Siemens, Gamesa, Vestas. These are just some of the best of the best. The next page. Okay, 下一页. And then okay, and then we have many develops. The first is those turbine providers, and this one is the offshore wind farm developer. Of course, as I mentioned, we have Offshore, which is the world's largest offshore developer. I don't know whether they are in Vietnam. And then we also have Hailong, the Hailong offshore wind, which is a combination of Singapore, Yushan Nengyuan, Canada, and then Japan, Mitsui, Sanjin. Next page. And we have some of the other less well-known players like Skyborn Renewables. They are originally owned by Germany, WPD. This year was acquired by the American Jeep IP and changed its name. Skyborn Renewables is a target is a 640 megawatts. And then we have the very famous in the middle, CIP, Copenhagen Industry Partners. They are the world's largest offshore wind developer. They are so good, so comprehensive. And then we have on the bottom, Sinera Renewable Energy. 它是台湾的以前的上尾 originally a SIA core. So they got bought out by private equity Stone Peak in 2019 and then changed its name. 下一页. Okay, I'm about to follow in the. And okay, the second advantage is that the local parts, of course, this is all the parts that our friends, Vietnam friends, particularly industry, because they requested us to talk about the local parts. 我们自己都没有做得很好, but still, they say this is what Vietnam need to learn from Taiwan, so that the local parts, and then in the future, hopefully it can connect the global market. I wouldn't say global, the Asian market. So there are 15 players, as you can see, Jingfeng, Tianli, Yongguan, 世纪风、世纪钢, they are in all different sorts of area, you know, the single pile, sleeve type, you know, the many different parts, you know. I guess what makes it interesting, it is the purpose of today's event, is that if we can combine the total market, Vietnam, Taiwan, it's not only satisfying one market, it'll satisfy two markets. So not only for international players, but also for parts suppliers, solution providers. You are looking at a much bigger market together. Next page. Okay, and then also we are building many vessels. You know, this Green Jade, you know, is a Taiwan 国际造船, you know, it is one of the very first. It will be completed by 2024. You know, 它进行的for the foundation below water, you know, and the installation of turbine. So this is a big boat. Yeah, I don't know how much it will cost. It will cost more than 100 million to build one. You know, so all of these. Next page. I'm about to finish. You know, so what are the challenges? You know, despite all the fantastic bullet points about the future, about the prospect, but we are facing a lot of challenges. The first of all is the global market. You know, as you know, it is we are facing a tremendous challenge. You know, not to mention about the war between Russia and Ukraine, and everybody is getting conservative. And then also the contracting capacity, and I want to pointing you to this, you know, high oil and natural gas prices. So in the past, you know, I have people from Singapore telling us, say, we have Marco Polo, the representative here today. You know, I know they are one of the speakers. You know, Marco Polo 的呢，在哪里？线上 ，OK。They are my clients. You know, they say in the past, you know, the oil and gas. So oil and gas is done. So no more oil and gas. You know, renewable is the future, and Taiwan has the future. So everybody rushing to here. Guess what happened this year? What happened this year is oil price up to the roof. So now, you know, people are talking about renewable energy 可能不够了, while in Germany, in many places. So we need to go back to oil and gas. So those vessels, ships, originally, you know, coming to Taiwan for the installation, for the development of offshore wind. And now they are going back to oil and gas. So this, you know, that's the issue. And the third one, CPPA, you know, power purchase agreement. There is Taiwan is bidding so competitive, but the regulation, if we want to for these developer to sell to the local corporate, many uncertainty. And then the 国产化, the nationalization, the correct translation would be localization. The localization, it is a rolling adjustment. It is actually quite painful. You know, foreign companies want to get rid of the localization, but the government wants the localization. You know, the infrastructure, you know, the many ports are not yet enough, well developed, you know, not yet enough. Lastly is about insurance. So there are also some potential issues there. Next. So, you know, but having said that, still there are many challenging, there are good opportunities in the future. And this one is the 浮动式风机, you know, the floating. This is on the stage, you know. I know Vietnam situation is different. You know, when I was in Vietnam 3 months ago, and I talked to them about the floating, they say the Vietnam water is so shallow, you know, unless Taiwan, you don't need to have a floating, you know, you can just build a bridge, you know, to the 20公里外, you know, still it is okay, you know, but you know, everybody is not talking about the floating, you know, so it is a new market for Taiwan. Next page. Okay, I'll get next page. These are the details. I want to do this the very last page. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, please look at this here. This is Taiwan, Vietnam. You know, I don't know. This particular chart is putting Taiwan and Vietnam together. I don't know why. You know, this is by luck. We don't deliberate. But you see, this is哪一年? This Vietnam will surpass Taiwan in the future. I think it's 2030 or something. I got a chart, you know, somewhere. So in the future, the Martin 在哪里？坐在哪？ 我的同事准备的这些 OK， in the future, you know, it will, you know, the surpass Taiwan. So what I'm saying, and the floating percentage, of course, Taiwan is higher, 86%. Vietnam is relatively low, you know. So all I want to say, this is my last page, 下一页. So thank you very much. You know, I hope that this gives you a overlook. It is a cumbersome, and I have to apologize because I'm not a technical expert. But however, I hope that in the last 20 minutes, I give you some overall brief look, especially for our friends in Vietnam, about Taiwan's offshore wind farms. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Huang, for giving us a very clear picture about the Taiwan offshore wind power industry. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Nguyễn Thế Thắng, Head of Power System Development Department, Institute of Energy, to address the second topic, offshore wind power in Vietnam, beginnings and prospects in the National Power Development Plans, PDP-8. Please welcome Mr. Nguyễn Thế Thắng.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Institute of Energy, I'd like to present on the PDP-8, offshore wind and the offshore wind energy wind power in PDP-8, as well as roadmap and challenges. Our presentation has 5 parts. First of all, I'd like to present about some power source expansion plans in Vietnam, including the direction to integrate offshore wind energy till 2030 with division until 2050. I raise your attention to some challenges in the investment and development of offshore wind farm in Vietnam. In the chart, you can see statistics of electricity consumption in Vietnam from 1990 to 2020. So since 2010, the rate of development in energy consumption in Vietnam has been very high. From 2010 to 2020, the annual average growth rate in electricity consumption is about 10%. And this rate continues to grow in 2022. It shows that the growth rate of electricity consumption in Vietnam till 2030 will average at about 8 or 9% per year. This is our forecast of electricity demand until 2050. The national load will double until 2050, And the national electricity demand is concentrated in the two ends of the country. In the north, about 45%, and in the south, also about 45%. And these two ends make up around 90% of the national demand. In the chart, you can see our focus for the net zero energy transition until 2050. And our electricity demand will reach its peak about 300 gigawatts in 1930. And other energy sources such as solar energy, onshore and offshore wind energy will develop from that point on very quickly. And by 2050, onshore and offshore wind energy will make up about 40% of the total energy supply. So on the right, you can see a chart of our national grid development plans until 2050. The green lines illustrates the 220 kilovolt lines, and the gray lines illustrate the 110 kilovolt grid. And we developed our national transmission grid on the principle of reliability and credibility to ensure the safety of the transmission grid. And in big cities, after 2030, we plan to expand our national grid with a huge investment to connect the north with the central coastal area and connect the north to the south. Regarding offshore wind farms, you can see on the map these areas mark the areas with high potential for offshore wind energy. The technical potential of offshore wind power in Vietnam is estimated at 165 gigawatts, whereas about the potential for offshore wind energy in the central coastal area is estimated at 8 gigawatts, and the majority of this potential is densely populated in the southern coastal areas. This table illustrates our plans for offshore wind power development until 2030. And we plan to develop the install capacity of 87,000 gigawatt until 2050. This map shows the total registered offshore wind power capacity in the northern area until 2050. And we plan to develop like high voltage transmission grid line And finally, I would like to touch upon the challenges which Vietnam might encounter in development of offshore wind farms. Our power the development of offshore wind energy plant will concentrate in certain areas. And in order to exactly identify these areas, we need to develop a scheme to implement the PDP-8 and calculate the scale and the feasibility of the install capacity. Secondly, there's no specific guidance on the procedures for an offshore wind farm development. It is partly identified in the law of electricity or the law of renewable energy, but there's no separate legal foundation for offshore wind power. For example, it still lacks some guidance how to design a survey, how to select investors, or the regulations on power purchase contracts are still lacking. And there's no clear information about the capacity of some investors. And finally, we have difficulty with to differentiate between the offshore wind farm investors and the investors into the transmission system. Without investing in the transmission grid, it will be very challenging to connect the offshore wind farms with the national grid lines. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just touched upon the PDP-8 and its perspective for offshore wind power in Vietnam. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for the detailed information. Now let's move our attention to the screen to watch an introduction video of XUAN Holdings Joint Stock Company Renewable Energy Projects. After that, we will take a 5-minute short break before moving to our main second topic today. Please be on set at 4:25. Thank you.
Với sự kiên định phát triển theo xu hướng mới, XUAN Holdings đã nỗ lực tiên phong đưa điện mặt trời, điện gió chính thức thành một phần đáng kể trong cơ cấu nguồn điện của Việt Nam. XUAN Holdings xác định năng lượng tái tạo là trụ cột trong chiến lược phát triển và định hướng trở thành nhà đầu tư năng lượng tái tạo hàng đầu tại Việt Nam. XUAN Holdings khẳng định năng lực và kinh nghiệm trong lĩnh vực năng lượng tái tạo qua các nhà máy đã hoàn thành tại Tây Ninh, Sóc Trăng và Bình Định. Cụm nhà máy điện mặt trời dầu tiếng 1, dầu tiếng 3 tọa lạc tại xã Tân Hưng, huyện Tân Châu, tỉnh Tây Ninh. Trong đó, nhà máy điện mặt trời dầu tiếng 1 có tổng công suất 150 MW, tổng mức đầu tư hơn 3.000 tỷ đồng, tổng sản lượng điện 280 triệu kWh một năm, khởi công vào năm 2018, hoàn thành vào năm 2019. Nhà máy điện mặt trời dầu tiếng 3 có tổng công suất 150 MW, tổng mức đầu tư gần 3.000 tỷ đồng, tổng sản lượng điện 287 triệu kWh một năm, khởi công và hoàn thành giai đoạn 1 2019, khởi công và hoàn thành giai đoạn 2 2020. Nhà máy điện mặt trời dầu tiếng 1 và dầu tiếng 3 là cụm nhà máy điện mặt trời tiên phong và công suất lớn nhất Đông Nam Á, biến Tây Ninh trở thành trung tâm điện mặt trời của cả nước. Phát huy tối đa giá trị sử dụng đất, biến vùng đất bán ngập trồng mì một vụ trở thành nguồn đóng góp lớn cho địa phương. Hơn 1 triệu tấm pin mặt trời được đặt trên hệ cọc bê tông dự ứng lực D300 tại độ cao hơn 3 mét trên mặt nước và thảm cỏ xanh, tạo môi trường thoáng mát, tránh bụi, giúp tăng tối đa hiệu suất phát điện và hiệu quả của dự án. Tạo nên cảnh quan kỳ vĩ, biến nhà máy thành điểm đến tham quan, du lịch hấp dẫn. Nhà máy điện gió số 7 Sóc Trăng là nhà máy điện gió gần bờ, tọa lạc tại xã Vĩnh Hải, thị xã Vĩnh Châu, tỉnh Sóc Trăng. Nơi đây có tốc độ gió trung bình khoảng 8,3 m trên giây ở độ cao 120 m, là điều kiện lý tưởng để sản xuất điện gió. Nhà máy điện gió số 7 giai đoạn 1 có tổng công suất 29,4 MW, quy mô 7 tua bin, tổng mức đầu tư gần 1.500 tỷ đồng. Tổng sản lượng 105 triệu kWh một năm. Trải qua 12 tháng triển khai liên tục khẩn trương, dự án đã hoàn thành đúng tiến độ với các dấu mốc rất đáng tự hào. Khởi công vào tháng 9 năm 2020, hoàn thành tháng 9 năm 2021. Đây là nhà máy điện gió đầu tiên tại tỉnh Sóc Trăng hòa lưới điện quốc gia, với chiều dài cầu dẫn hơn 7 km và hàng tua bin khổng lồ sừng sững trên biển. Nhà máy đã tạo nên quang cảnh hùng vĩ và hấp dẫn người dân địa phương. Nhà máy cũng góp phần quan trọng cho ngân sách tỉnh Sóc Trăng. Nhà máy điện gió Nhân Hội tọa lạc tại phía nam núi Phương Mai, thành phố Quy Nhơn, tỉnh Bình Định, trên độ cao từ 120 đến 320 m so với mực nước biển. Núi Phương Mai như một tấm bình phong khổng lồ án ngữ phía biển cho thành phố Quy Nhơn. Nhà máy có tổng công suất 60 MW, quy mô 12 trụ tua bin gió, mỗi trụ có công suất 5 MW. Sản lượng điện 180 triệu kWh một năm, tổng mức đầu tư gần 2.000 tỷ đồng, khởi công quý 4 năm 2020, hoàn thành tháng 10 năm 2021. Đây là nhà máy điện gió có công suất lớn nhất tại tỉnh Bình Định. Vượt qua rất nhiều khó khăn trong quá trình vận chuyển, xây dựng, lắp đặt những trụ tua bin trên các đỉnh của dãy núi Phương Mai. Tất cả đã tạo nên một cảnh quan hùng vĩ cuốn hút cả bốn phía trong vùng rộng lớn. Nhà máy đang tạo ra nguồn thu lớn và quan trọng cho địa phương. Tiếp nối đà thành công này, Xuân Cầu Holding đang triển khai đầu tư xây dựng các nhà máy năng lượng tái tạo, dầu tiếng 5.1, dầu tiếng 5.2 tại Tây Ninh. Nhà máy điện gió số 7 giai đoạn 2 tại Sóc Trăng. Ở vị trí địa lý và điều kiện khí hậu thuận lợi, Việt Nam được đánh giá là quốc gia có tiềm năng lớn để phát triển điện gió ngoài khơi. Theo Ngân hàng Thế giới và Cơ quan Năng lượng Đan Mạch, với bờ biển dài và tiềm năng gió dồi dào, điện gió Việt Nam có tiềm năng ước đạt 475 GW, trong đó tiềm năng kỹ thuật khoảng 160 GW. Dự thảo quy hoạch điện 8 đặt ra mục tiêu sẽ phát triển 7.000 MW điện gió ngoài khơi vào năm 2030 và lên tới 87.000 MW vào năm 2050. Định hướng phát triển điện gió ngoài khơi đã được Xuân Cầu Holding xác định là trụ cột trong chiến lược phát triển. Các dự án điện gió ngoài khơi của Xuân Cầu Holding trải dài từ Bắc vào Nam tại vị trí có độ sâu đáy biển từ 20 đến 30 m. Khoảng cách đến bờ từ 10 đến 70 km, thuận lợi cho phát triển điện gió. Tại Hải Phòng, 3.000 MW, Quảng Ninh 3.000 MW, Quảng Trị 1.000 MW, Sóc Trăng 2.600 MW. Xuân Cầu Holding đang triển khai các bước đầu tiên như thực hiện hoạt động đo gió, nghiên cứu tiền khả thi, ký thỏa thuận hợp tác với các đối tác hàng đầu thế giới trong việc phát triển các dự án điện gió ngoài khơi. Với kinh nghiệm đã triển khai thành công các dự án năng lượng tái tạo trước đây, Xuân Cầu Holding tự tin tiếp tục giữ vững vị trí tiên phong trong việc phát triển các dự án điện gió ngoài khơi tại Việt Nam. Cùng với đó, Xuân Cầu đang tiếp tục phát triển các dự án trên đất liền như điện mặt trời nổi Strock Phú Miêng 150 MW tại Bình Phước, điện mặt trời Hoài Thanh 50 MW tại Bình Định, điện mặt trời Hoài Đức 50 MW tại Bình Định, điện mặt trời Dầu Tiếng 1050 MW tại Tây Ninh và điện gió trên bờ 1500 MW tại Quảng Trị. Với nỗ lực phát triển nguồn năng lượng xanh, các dự án năng lượng tái tạo của Xuân Cầu Holding đã và sẽ tiếp tục đầu tư, khẳng định quyết tâm biến những vùng sâu, vùng xa thành các dự án năng lượng tái tạo quy mô lớn, khai thác hiệu quả nguồn tài nguyên mặt trời, tài nguyên gió, góp phần thực hiện hóa quy hoạch điện 8 và cam kết của Việt Nam tại COP26 đưa phát thải carbonic bằng không vào năm 2050 đồng thời thúc đẩy du lịch địa phương, giúp tăng thu ngân sách nhà nước, giải quyết việc làm cho lao động tại địa phương, đánh dấu giai đoạn đột phá trong phát triển kinh tế xã hội của các địa phương. Xuất cầu Holding, cống hiến giá trị đích thực.
Now we will take a short break of 5 minutes and please be on set at 4:30. Thank you. 1 minute. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our meeting will be start again soon, so please have a seat. Thank you. Uống đi ạ. Nước của em, nước của em. Chắc có ghi là hạng mục bây giờ nha. Bây giờ tôi sẽ nói là we start now. We'll start in like kiểu để cho họ thời gian để họ settle ấy. We'll start in 2 minutes và kiểu 1 minute để họ settle. Nhưng mà nếu anh settle người ta không biết là bao nhiêu. Như nói 1 phút thì kiểu nhanh thôi 1 phút mình chỉ kịp về. Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting will be start in 2 more minutes. Please have a seat. Thank you. Ý là cái mà ông ấy mới đưa ấy, có khi về triển khai luôn thế. Được đó. UK luôn đó và công ty. 谢谢你，谢谢。Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting will start now. Please back to your seat. Thank you. Anh tắt đèn, tắt đèn, tắt đèn. We are now going to listen to the third speech from Mr. Liu Zhengxuan, Project Manager of Lenta Company, and Mr. Roy, Senior General Manager of Marco Polo Offshore Company, about formation and development of infrastructure, supply chains, and logistic services for offshore wind power in Taiwan. Please welcome Mr. Liu Zhengxuan as our first presenter.
Yeah, before Liu Zhengxuan, Johnson, his name is Johnson. Before he starts, I'll just say a few words. About this, why we have a second part. Why we have a second part of the session is because our friends our partner in Vietnam, specifically requested to have the infrastructure. So they say, okay, operator. 各位刚才已经看到，这个越南呢，事实上是 pretty developed, in a certain way, even more advanced in Taiwan. Like Chunqiao Holdings, they not only have the solar, they have the 陆上, they have the 海上, offshore. So they have everything. But what they interested is the 我们台湾的就像这个 supply chain development, logistic in offshore, logistic supply chain. 我们待会儿会讨论到物流的部分，还有 infrastructure construction. So these are the parts, the Taiwan. We cannot say we are expert. I know we are also struggling. But we have developed a certain experience in the last 7-8 years. So now we will have our first speaker, Johnson Liu from Lenda Company to do a short presentation for you.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Johnson Liu. I'm the project manager in Lenda Company. Next. Next, please. These are the topics I'm going to present in this. I'm going to talk about in this presentation. The first one is industrial relevance program. Then I will also introduce the supply chain in local Taiwan for wind turbine and subsea foundation category. And last, I will introduce some key supplier and talk about the development in these years. Okay, next. Industrial relevance requirement, usually so-called localization. The Taiwan government sets very clear program for this localization. The goal is to establish a self-sustaining market and the domestic supply chain. The procedure is to increase the localization percentage gradually. Taiwan government sets different phase for the offshore wind farm development, and different phase has different requirement on the localization percentage. The main consideration is to take balance between the offshore wind farm timeline and local supply chain development. Therefore, flexibility is also one consideration. Taiwan government can do adjustment based on the actual status. There are 5 categories. We can take a look at the right hand here. It includes in the electricity facility, underwater foundation, turbine component, maritime engineering service, and engineering design service. Different category has different requirements. Some are must items and some are bonus items. Next. This is the structure of wind turbine. In Taiwan, we have 2 major wind turbine brands in Taiwan, which is Vestas and Siemens Gamesa. And we have 2 types of subsea foundation here: monopile and jetty type. Monopile we have them in Yunnan Haixiafeng wind farm, and for jetty type we have them in Tai Power Phase 1, 2, Great Zhanghua, Zhangfang Xidao, Zhongnen, and Hailong wind farm. Next. Up, go back. Okay. These are the key development items for wind turbine supply chain. This item, Taiwan government requires 60% of the capacity of this item to be made in local Taiwan. The rest 40% will be bonus point when the developer bid for the wind farm. Let's take a look from the top. For nacelle assembly, we can see there are 2 brands here. Both Vestas and Siemens Gamesa, they build their own factory in Taiwan for nacelle assembly. For tower, it's supplied by the joint venture between Qingfeng and Korea supplier CS Wind. Transformer for Vestas is supplied by Hitachi Taiwan and ABB. And for Siemens Gamesa, it's provided by Siling Electric and Siemens Energy. For distribution board here, Vestas is supplied by Mitsubishi and Siling Electric. And for Siemens Gamesa, it's provided by Fortune Electric. For nose cone and nacelle cover, it's provided by ATEC Composite. They produce a composite material for different industries like airplane, yacht, and or defense. For the cable, Vestas is supplied by Huaxin Lihua, a cable company, and Siemens Gamesa is provided by Xinbang and Huaxin Lihua. For hub and nacelle base casting, it's provided by XUAN Group. That's a group producing the casting parts for different industry. For power conversion system and an interrupted power system is provided by KK Wind Solution Taiwan. For blade, it's provided by Tianli. We will talk more about this company later. For fastener, is provided by Bolton, who produce bolts and nuts in Taiwan for many years. And for Siemens Gamesa, is provided by WOS Taiwan. For reason, is provided by Swanco, who has been producing a high quality resin since 1992. Okay, next. These are the bonus items for wind turbine supply chain. This item right now we don't have to produce in Taiwan, but if they do, if they are made here, then there will be bonus points when they bid for the wind farm. Here we can see TACO. TACO is a time-honored company in Taiwan who produce electrical products for a long time, including the power system, automation system, and white goods. And they also provide a yacht system for Siemens Gamesa. Junfan, that's another. They provide a variable pitch control system for Siemens Gamesa. They are a company who work in the automation system for many years. Then we can see for the blades, Siemens Gamesa is provided by Formosa Plastics. That's a big group company covering many different industries in Taiwan. And for Swanco, they also provide Tecafire for Vista's blades. Okay, next please. For subsea foundation supply chain, we can see because of fewer technical limitations, so we can see more supplier here. For monopile transition piece, we can see the CTCI machinery. For the main pipe, we can see the Formosa heavy industry. That's also one of the Formosa group. For jacket transportation piece, we can see there's a Century Blade Foundation. That's the joint venture between Taiwan and Denmark company. CSBC, that's a shipbuilding company. And CTCI Machinery, Xingda Marine Structure, and Nanbing Longyuan, that's a company specialized in metal tank and the piping system. And for main pipe, we can see the Century Wind Power, Xingda Marine Structure, and Ping Pipe, almost the same supplier. For grout, it's provided by Rontex Material. That's a famous group in Taiwan in civil construction. For coating material, that's provided by CSBC Coating Solution. They are the subsidiary of CSBC and has enormous experience on shipbuilding. For anti-corrosion system, they're provided by CSAC and Thermal. CSAC, they are the largest producer for the rolled aluminum plates. They also produce a zinc plates for the anti-corrosion system. Okay, next. Here I would like to introduce more about the Tianli Offshore Wind Technology Company. They are a key player here, and they were established in December 2009. Their capital is $500 million NT, and they have around 400 employees. Their business scope is the manufacture of offshore wind turbine blades, including more research, efficiency improvement of blades production process, and blades maintenance. In 2018, they signed an MOU with Vistas, and now Tianli is the only blade manufacturer in Taiwan for offshore wind farm. Next. Tianli invests $3 billion NT for production factory. The location is in Taichung, and the area is 21 acres. Among them, 3 acres are for production. Right now, they have 2 production lines. Each produce 60 sets of wind turbine blades every year and 120 sets in total. In April this year, they successfully produced the first blade in Taiwan. Next. This is another key supplier in Taiwan, a Century Wind Power Company. They were established in May 2017, a subsidiary of Century Iron and Steel Company. Their capital is $1 billion NT, and they have 1,200 employees. Their business scope is subsea foundation production for offshore wind farm. And in 2018, they joint venture with Denmark Blade and built the Century Blade Conversion Foundation Company. Century Wind Power, they have 67% hold shares. This is to transfer the welding technology and the special material for wind farm. Right now, Century Wind Power, they occupy 79% of Taiwan's subsea foundation market. Next. This is an aerial view of the Taipei port. Century Wind Power have their factory here in Taipei port. The total area is around 31 acres. The production area for the phase 1, 2, 3 is totally 21 acres. They have their dedicated wharf and storage area for 9.8 acres. The wharf has a 220-meter water line. Ground rope capacity is up to 20 tons per square meter. The water depth is 16 meters, so they are capable to handle the heavy components in offshore wind farm. Their production capacity is 30 to 50 sets of jacket-type foundation. Until now, they have received an order for 114 jacket and 310 pin pile. Okay, that's about all of my presentation, and thanks for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. So now let's turn to our second presenter today, Mr. Roy.
Thank you. Allow me to share the screen. Yeah.
Màn hình chúng tôi đã.
Okay, let me know if you can see the screen here.
Quý vị có thể nhìn thấy màn hình chưa ạ?
Okay, I'll start. First of all, thank you to Mr. Huang for inviting
Trước
Marco
tiên,
Polo
cảm ơn
Marine
ông Huang đã mời
to do a
công ty
presentation
Marco
on the
Polo
short
Marine
presentation
để
on the
có bài
supply-based concept. Okay, so a brief macro view of the global wind policy now. As you can see, the European Union are targeting 12 gigawatts by 2050. We are particularly focusing on Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam being the Asian countries here in this presentation, right? If you can see, Taiwan has got a 20.5 gigawatt policy target by 2035. Korea, 12 gigawatt by 2030. Japan, 45 gigawatt by 2040. And Vietnam, 36 gigawatt by 2045. Okay, allow me to give a brief introduction on the various phases of the wind farm development and construction process. Okay, at the conception and development stage, basically there's no assets of offshore required. During the engineering process, the survey vessels and the dredgers will be required offshore to do the geotech surveys, do the dredging and so on and so forth. It is in the construction and commissioning phase that majority of the marine assets will come in. So you'll be needing CSOV, the construction assist vessels, AHTS, the anchor handling supply tug vessels, offshore tugs and barges to carry the monopile jackets to offshore for the installation. And then during the turbine installation, of course, you will be needing the WTIV, the wind turbine installation vessels. Of course, part of this, you'll require the heavy lift vessels, the crane barge, heavy lift vessels, and of course also the cable lay vessels. And then on the operation and maintenance phase of the wind farm, you'll be needing the SOV, service operations vessels. And for nearshore operations, nearshore wind farm, you only require CTVs to transfer the technicians offshore. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be touching on just probably 4 countries with wind farm developments. We're talking about touching here Japan. Japan has got a target 22 to 24% share of renewable energy by 2030. Okay, the offshore wind industry vision in the late 2020 targets 10 gigawatt cumulative capacity, and by 2040 to reach 45 gigawatt. I'll briefly touch on these 4 countries. South Korea, targeting 9.2 gigawatt of wind capacity, combined onshore and offshore. But on the offshore sector alone, is targeting 12 gigawatt by 2030. Vietnam, as IE has just mentioned, IE Vietnam has mentioned, in the recent PDP 8, we have raised the target. Vietnam has raised the target for solar and wind to 50% of Vietnam power supply by 2045. And of all this, offshore segment will account for about 36 gigawatt of the energy of generated from offshore wind. Of course, World Bank has estimated Vietnam offshore wind potential to be more than 500 gigawatt, having the long coastline and a favorable wind. Okay, next we'll touch on what we are concentrated here. Taiwan, as Mr. CY has mentioned earlier, there are a few phases for Taiwan wind development so far. We are at round 3, phase 1 now. So a brief history. Marco Polo has been involved since the beginning of Taiwan wind development. We have our vessels supporting Taiwan wind, particularly on Formosa 1 off Miaoli for the demonstration project. That is about 128 megawatt demonstration field. So now, last week, the government has released the result of round 3. 10 projects were selected after meeting the EIA approval, and of course, 6 developers were selected. So offshore wind is a key component for Taiwan green economy vision. The government aims to generate 20% of the electricity through renewable energy, solar and wind power by 2025. And it's good to know that, it's the government's intention to shut down completely, like what Mr. CY has mentioned earlier, the nuclear power plants by the end of 2025. So as I mentioned earlier, the 10 projects that were selected and announced result from the latest round 3. So you can see here, CIP, Korea, JERA, Northland Power, Swancore Renewable, local Taiwan developer, Skyborn, which is ex-WPD, German, Northland Power, and Skyborn again, has combined to win this, totally 10 projects were awarded. Okay, a brief on supply-based concept. So supply-based is actually a hub providing logistic and consolidation network deliveries, servicing of the material to the operating sites from upstream to the downstream of the whole wind farm development. The purpose of the supply base is to consolidate and transfer hub. Consolidate as a transfer hub for material, formations, and informations and services. It will provide a collection of service providers, example, logistic providers, fabricators, repair companies, part suppliers in one single location to serve a specific industry needs. In our case here, for the offshore wind farm logistic needs. It enables connectivity within a single geographical location. Okay, this is a snapshot of a supply base taken off from Singapore. So if you know, Singapore is just a very small island nation. So on the east and the west, we both have a supply base. So on the east is where this photo is taken off, is called the Loyang Supply Base. So this is a hub where all the suppliers, contractors, fabricators are located. So the vessels servicing the oil and gas, in our case, will be calling at this place, whereas they have a very quick turnaround time to do the replenishment, the supplies, and a logistic arrangement. So this supply base is having an economy of scale through this consolidation as a supply base. It provides a one-stop service from a single geographical location. Of course, it has to make sense that the location of this supply base is near to whichever purpose it intends to serve. And the good point of it is that the user does not require to invest a lot in the logistic resources, as a base operator will provide such logistic service to the users. It reduces the resources wastage by the operators, thus collectively in turn generate operating efficiency for the industry. Okay, you can see on the left where all the suppliers are, and on the right are all the end user, contractor A, B, and C. In the middle, where you have all the subcontractors. If you are looking at, without a supply base, looking at the connecting lines, every connecting lines in the supply chain represents a single logistic resources used and it related costs for the industrial player. This overall increased the logistic cost and pricing for the industry. If you look at the situation with a supply base, the connecting lines are lesser now. So reducing the connecting lines in the supply chain will reduce the resources and wastage occur. That reduce the overall cost structure. And if you put yourself in the position of the contractor A, that is cost saving definitely for contractor A, B, and C, and D, of course. Yeah. Okay, next we touch on the challenges that we face while operating in Taiwan. There are, of course, shortage of maintenance berth for bigger vessels serving the wind farm, lack of dynamic positioning expertise in the country. At present, the majority of the vessels that are serving the offshore wind farm requires precision positioning. So we are also talking about during the O&M phases where the service operations vessels are required to send the technician from the shore to the turbines. DP, dynamic positioning in the long version, is required to position the vessel to connect the gangway to safely and efficiently send the technician over from the vessel to the turbine. We are noting on a lackage of that. Of course, there's also a shortage of critical components, such as engines, crane, particularly on vessels, schedule comfort during the construction phase, and the list goes on. And of course, also there are also lack of mooring suppliers. If we are going into deeper waters, for the case of Taiwan, whereby we'll be having the floating wind structures, the floating wind structures will be tied down to the seabed using chains and anchors. So there'll be a shortage of, we have noted a shortage of mooring suppliers that are required for this floating wind structure. So this slide is a reiterate of the previous slide. So what the supply base needs to do will be inviting foreign expertise to come into the base to provide a centralized location to serve the purpose for the wind farm industry. So the target user can call at the supply base to enjoy a one-stop service rather than to visit places around the country itself. Or in the worst case, if the service or the supplies are not required or not available in the country, most of the time the parts will have to be flown into the country. For example, in the case Taiwan, if you're having engine spare parts issue, dynamic positioning issues, most of the case it has to be imported from overseas. So having this supply base in country in Taiwan, or in the case of Vietnam, if a supply base is formed, this will concentrate the suppliers for these critical spare parts and services to be centralized in one location, the supply base, to service the wind farm. And of course, last but not least, of course, the precious networking within the supply base for all the offshore wind farm ecosystem players. Okay, the business model of the supply base from the upstream and the mainstream. Of course, we're not touching on the downstream part of the offshore wind industry because it's not within the scope of the supply base. We are targeting, constructor, fabricators, vessels operator, installation company, parts and equipment suppliers. And of course, also on the midstream, we have cable suppliers, transformer contractors, undersea cable companies, turbine makers. Okay, these are the area of business for the supply base, where you can see the business activity, leasing out the supply base, be it the open yard or the warehouse storage, transportation of the equipment from the cargo yard to the quayside, and delivery of the equipment to the supply vessel to be sent offshore during the construction phase, or transferring the technician from the vessel via the CTV or the SOV to the turbine. So in the central column, you can see the type of income that can be generated by the supply base. And these are the few targeted operators that we have observed while serving in Taiwan. So it's no surprise that these are the international players that we can foresee to be present in Vietnam if the wind farm development in wind farm is to expand. So we're looking at CTV, SOV owner, heavy lift vessels, EPC company that will be coming to do the installation. Then last but not least, of course, survey vessels owner, vessels agent. These are the parts and components that required offshore for the upstream services. Just a brief on this. Yeah, if you're looking at the logo down below, we are looking at the major gangway or gangway operator and gangway OEMs, SMST, Safeway, Uptime. You know, these are the gangway required, the 3D motion compensated gangway requirement of a typical CSOV and SOV. These are typical for offshore wind farm need during the construction and the service and operations stage of the wind farm. And a very interesting one is drones. So we have been seeing Europe has made recently announcement for drones delivery to offshore wind farm. Similarly, in Singapore, we have also startup that is researching and doing up prototypes of drones that's able to deliver spare parts, not heavy ones. For the present now, it's up to 10 kg to have the drone to deliver critical equipment from the supply base up to the wind farm. Of course, the prototype is for 10 kg. We at Marco Polo, we are collaborating with the startup company to have them to develop a drone that's able to travel 100 kilometers and carry up a payload of 100 kg. So if you're thinking, if the wind farm is further than 100 kilometers off the supply base, then how will it do, right? So to answer to that, the drone can fly back to the supply base, replenish or collect the parts, fly to the service operations vessel or CSOV, SOV, replenish, recharge the battery, and then take it as an intermediary point to fly to the wind farm. Deliver the wind farm, deliver the parts or critical equipment to the turbine, and then fly back to the service operation manager to have the battery charged before flying back to the supply base. So that is a very another interesting project that we're working on here, which we are hoping that this could be implemented to Taiwan for a start. But of course, we're going through the approval process through the government to get the area approval and sort of that, yeah. Okay, then we're talking about midstream here, the logistics supplier to send the transformers, the crane, the lorries, the craneage, everything will be provided within the supply base to have the equipment loaded onto the low base and thereof onto the supply vessels to be carried offshore. That is for the cargo reels. For the cable reels. The lifting of the cable reels to the supply vessels or the cable lay vessels. So that is another business business options here for third-party logistics service that the supply base can provide, storage of cargoes and equipments. And to add on that, the supply base also comes with officers. Small startup that can actually doesn't want to invest in a lot in country can actually own the service, the work desk within the supply base as the leaping point to service the end client. For example, DP operators, they do not have the large scale of operations in country. So having an office within the supply base, they can actually use this office to be able to service the offshore wind farm players and of course, storing their equipment, the DP components in the warehouse. So the type of income and the type of services that we can provide here in the supply base. So these are also additional services that the supply base can provide. Agency services, procurement services. And of course, the supply base can also be a place to aggregate purchasing volume. You are getting in bulk to store in the supply base, and when the end user comes in, the supply base can actually provide access to commodity and service volume agreement with various suppliers to make it a source of revenue for the supply base. So for project logistics, this is also type of business that the supply base can do: rental of the gangway, rental of service specialized equipment, and rental of other equipment. and berthing services. These are typical for berth, mooring, unmooring, just touch on a few, the services that the supply base can provide. I shall not go into details in this. And this is an aerial view of our targeted, together with our collaborated partner in Taiwan, Am Ping Port. That is where our supply base will be located, situated. As you know, Taiwan, they are having the first offshore wind farm based in Taichung. That's the very first place that Taiwan developed for wind farm industry. But Taichung port is already congested with the big players coming in. So the next that we have targeted is Am Ping Port in Tainan. So this is the aerial view of Am Ping Port, sheltered, deep water, and of course there are also free trade zones within the Am Ping Port. That makes logistic and the kind of importation of goods very accessible. An artist's impression of the wind farm, which we are in the process of building now. Okay, in the conclusion, the development of the local supply chain is intended to support the entire Asia-Pacific offshore wind sector, not just in-country in Taiwan. Right. Industry experts forecast huge growth in regional offshore wind development over the next decade. Taiwan is well ahead of Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam in the offshore wind development curve. Its first mover status will enable it to establish itself as a regional hub. And the same model is going to be copied for Vietnam, Japan, and South Korea. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much for sharing. And lastly, I would like to invite Mr. Nguyen Xuân Phương, Deputy Director of Renewable Energy Center, Institute of Energy, to give us the information about assessment of the current state of infrastructure, domestic supply chain capacity for the orientation of offshore wind power development in Vietnam. Please welcome Mr. Nguyen Xuân Phương.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phương, and I'm working for the Center for Renewable Energy and the Institute of Energy. Today, I'll make a presentation on the potential for offshore wind energy development and development of supply chain and service for offshore wind energy. My presentation consists of 4 parts. First, introduction of the Institute of Energy. Second, an overview of the offshore wind energy in Vietnam. Third, the procedure to develop a development project of offshore wind energy. And fourth, the supply chain of offshore wind energy in Vietnam. The Institute of Energy was established in 1949. Originally as an Institute of Research for Electrical Science Technology, and since 1995 we were organized under EVN, and first in 2010 we became an agency under the Ministry of Industry and Trade. We have 4 main activities or mandates, which are research on national electricity development strategies, policies and plans. We conduct scientific researches, and provide consultation services for, in science, technology, in energy area. We conduct trainings and cooperation on science technology in energy sector, and also have other activities. The institute has in overall 189 staffs, including 7 PhD holders, 69 master holders, and 91 engineers. And during my career at the institute, we have conducted different researches, and I also took part in different consultation projects for renewable energy projects with different investors. Next, I would like to briefly touch upon the wind energy development status in the world. So in 2020, the total installed capacity of global wind power is estimated at 837 gigawatts. And currently, thanks to development policies, the installed capacity of offshore wind farm have doubled or have grown very quickly. And according to IEA forecast, the global GDP will have development the global revenue from the offshore from the wind energy globally will reach about $1 trillion with an annual installed capacity growth rate of 13%. About a development situation in Vietnam, by October 2021, there are about 106 wind energy projects in Vietnam. Which include 84 projects with a total capacity of roughly 4,000 megawatts in commercial operations. And the main investors or partners for wind energy in Vietnam include Offshore, and also Sungo Holding. With more than 3,000 kilometers of coastline, Vietnam has a lot of potential for wind energy. The World Bank estimates that Vietnam has the potential for installed capacity of about 475 gigawatts, and the Denmark Energy Agency estimate that the technical potential of offshore wind energy in Vietnam is about 162 gigawatts. Currently, the total installed capacity of project proposals reach 159 gigawatts, with over 90 projects in Vietnam. The PDP-8 also set out development direction for wind energy in Vietnam. By 2030, wind energy should contribute 7 gigawatts to the total electricity mix, accounting for 4.8%. And by 2050, the wind energy should make up 72.5 gigawatts, accounting for 15 or 16% of the total electricity mix. On the third part, according to some procedures and guidelines, I can summarize the project implementation procedures as follows. The planning stage takes about 3 years, and the development stage takes about 2 years. And in this stage, survey should be conducted and locations to be selected, as well as pre-feasibility study conducted or executed. So in the stage, in the construction stage, we have to consider other factors such as the supplier of the turbines, transportation, the installation, operation, and maintenance, etc. There are many opportunities for the supply chain of offshore wind energy in Vietnam. So in the project cycle, in all the stages, from pre-development, turbine construction, the base construction, demonstration test operation, O&M, and disassembly, the Institute of Energy are collecting data information to assess the supply chain in Vietnam. Currently, along the supply chain, we have different potentials. So the supply chain for offshore wind energy in Vietnam has a lot of potential based on experience with shipbuilding industry. And according to our assessment, there are several domestic suppliers. So these numbers are the results from our assessment. Vietnam has a very strategic position to become a central hub to supply equipment for offshore wind energy farms. And with the current capacity, we can develop about 200 turbines with total capacity of about 2,000 gigawatts in total. So these are some photos of, from the manufacturing of turbines or other supporting equipments or support systems. We have suppliers for the subsea transmission cables, subsea connection cable, or offshore substation, etc. We have existing infrastructure for ports, which are at the moment used heavily by the oil industry. We also have some experience in the installation of turbine plates or the construction of turbine foundation. At the moment, the Institute of Energy identifies offshore wind energy as its potential area for future. So we are developing strategies for investors and assess their capability to complete the supply chain in Vietnam. At the moment, PVN is also conducting their own research to assess the capabilities of investors. We are also studying solutions to increase the efficiency of the power transmission and providing advanced consultation on energy and electricity. And we cooperate with EVN and other transmission companies to develop offshore wind farms provide consultancies for companies to take part in the supply chain of offshore energy farm. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for the detailed information. Now we will move to our panel discussion part. This panel discussion will be arranged online and on-site. Please allow me to invite Mr. CY Huang to come to the stage for this panel discussion. All the activity will be moderated by Mr. CY Huang, founder of Southeast Asia Impacts Alliance, and Mr. Nguyễn Đức Cường, board member of the Vietnam Electric City. Besides that, my honor to invite Mr. Johnson Liu, project manager of Lenta Company, Mr. Roy, senior general manager of Marco Polo Offshore Company, Mr. Nguyễn Thế Thắng, Head of Power System Development Department, Institute of Energy, and Mr. Nguyễn Xuân Phương, Deputy Director of Renewable Energy Center, Institute of Energy. Please have a warm applause for our moderator, Mr. CY Huang, Mr. Nguyễn Đức Cường, and our grateful speakers. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry, apologize that we run a little bit over time, but hopefully not too late. I will try to complete this within half hour. We just had a very productive, this session. I think not only for myself, but also for some of the veterans, in the industry, you learn a lot, because there are many new things. First, new geographical region, for Taiwan to understand Vietnam, for Vietnam to understand Taiwan. And second, there are new business model like Roy of Marco Polo, earlier talk about the supply base, the business model. So these are something new, very challenging, but since this is a forum, for the collaboration between Taiwan and Vietnam, so we have the Honorable Vietnam Nongyuan Ministry of Energy officials, there. So, and then we intend to encourage cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam. So my first question, I would like to ask the officials from Vietnam. We understand there is this PDP, Power Development Plan, which is currently on the 8th phase, earlier you mentioned there are foreign participants, foreign investors. So how could Taiwan offshore wind participants, including developers and the component suppliers, participate in Vietnam's offshore wind market? Where are the opportunities? I would appreciate maybe someone from the Vietnam side, from the Institute of Energy, can share with us. Thank you. 我就说台湾怎么参与越南的商机了。
This is a very difficult question. And our panelists are still considering how to address it. As you may know, PDP-8 will set our target for offshore wind energy. And we think that the target is quite ambitious. The target is currently to develop 7 gigawatt installed capacity by 2030 and 87 gigawatt by 2050. And this is a very big opportunity for all foreign investors, not only Taiwanese investors. For Taiwanese investors specifically, I see that there are a lot in common between the Vietnamese and Taiwanese economic ecosystem. And the Taiwanese investors understand the Vietnamese people, understand the Vietnamese economy. So I think that the Taiwanese investors have more advantages compared with other foreign investors to invest in offshore wind energy in Vietnam. In addition, from your presentation, I see that Taiwan started to develop offshore wind energy since a while. And the Taiwanese investor will have more experience in offshore wind energy development, and consequently a huge advantage to invest into Vietnam market. Vietnam has a lot of potential for offshore wind energy development, but as I also presented, there are also a lot of challenges. And therefore, we hope that we can develop a domestic market for the domestic supply chain, domestic suppliers, to localize or nationalize the supply chain in the construction and delivery or fabrication of equipment. So our government has pushed strongly for development of offshore wind energy, similar as the Taiwanese government. So I think there are potential for technology transfer between the two countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As you can see, the Vietnam and Taiwan are taking a similar approach, in terms of the localization of content. Taiwan is slightly ahead. Vietnam is also following closely. But however, as we discussed earlier, there are challenges. So maybe Taiwan companies, can, based on our experience, transfer our know-how, to a Vietnamese partner. That is indeed one of the objectives of the forum today. We intend to build a bridge, a cooperation bridge between Taiwan and Vietnam to foster the transfer of wind farm technology to Vietnam. And my next question, will be, to Roy. Let us turn the gear a little bit to Roy of Marco Polo. You mentioned a very interesting concept from a logistic point of view. Supply base. And but the supply base, you say it can save costs, but it is also, to my knowledge, a business model of a disintermediation. You become the new intermediary, cutting off some of the other middlemen in between. So this is very much like an internet model, but everybody would like to be a platform, to be the new bridge. But how to overcome the difficulty? Because currently the traditional model is each operator has its own supplier, and the small supplier dealing with the big wind farm operator directly, and the big wind farm operator also has their own supplier system. So Roy, can you share with us why are you confident that that the supply-based model will work, and what are the critical elements? For example, you need to have economy of scale or some other critical factors in order to succeed. Thank you.
Right, thanks, CUI. Right, to answer to your question, Marco Polo ourselves, being operator of marine assets, we experience our own difficulty firsthand without a supply base. We have got to have our vessels calling different places, different ports. In Singapore, it's easy because we are an island nation. From east to west, probably will take 1 hour. But in large country, in big countries such as Taiwan or Vietnam, so to speak, you need to travel far, assuming that you'll be transporting your vessels from point A to point B. So the situation, the location of the supply base is critical to service, as I mentioned earlier, to service the wind farm, the locality of the wind farm. So the precise location of the supply base has to make sense that it is near to wind farm. We cannot be saying that we can cover the entire, say in the presence of Taiwan, we cannot cover the entire west coast of Taiwan where all the wind farms are. But we can selectively locate the wind farm to a precise location where we target the wind farm are located. In our case, in our position, Anping, besides Taichung. So that makes commercial sense in the first place for the supply base to thrive. And why are we not cutting off third-party suppliers? How to answer this question? We are targeting specialized equipment. We are not going to bring in ship chandling kind of supplies, provision supplies, store supplies. We are targeting only crucial items and critical equipments that are niche to supply base use, to offshore wind farm use. As I mentioned in my slides earlier, parts such as mooring equipment for places like Taiwan deep water floating foundations, and of course, dynamic positioning. So to have all these niche suppliers coming into one location and situated in a centralized place, the supply vessels or the service operations vessel, construction service operations vessel, CTV, calling into the base can easy and seamlessly just call at one place to have them replenish, repair, service, and replenished and up to their required kind of level without having the needs to call various places. And of course, gathering these niche suppliers and contractors in one location will make it economical sense for the vessels to come into this location to have the vessels replenished and serviced.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I've answered your question, CY.
Yeah, but I just, Mr. Huang, you have one question? Yes. Okay, but let me, very good, Mr. Huang would like to ask one question, but I would like to also follow up on that, the raw, you mentioned this is for niche products, but the niche products are, it's very niche, so the quantity is not big, very selective. So would there be the issue of economy of scale? Because they are so niche, they are so few involved. How do you address that?
Yeah, okay, the target audience is the niche suppliers. So having this niche criteria, of course, definitely will pull the supply vessels audience to come into the base itself. That is the only place that the supply vessels can find the solutions to their problem. But of course, aside of that pie, that segment of the niche suppliers, to thrive and to survive for the supply base, we need to have complement services. We need to have the berthing services. We need to have the repair and maintenance services. We also can provide services such as bringing the CTV up and laid up on the ground, on the open yard of the supply base, for example, during the off-season. So that will save costs for the owner in the off-season rather than berthing the CTVs. In this case, I'm talking about the CTV where you can just synchro lift up to the open yard and storage, mothball it. Big vessels, we cannot do that. We have to find a place to berth. So that will also save costs for the owners, the assets owner. And that is the expanded pie of the services and a revenue stream that the supply base can also encompasses.
Okay, thank you.
But so, of course, the target definitely is the niche services that we can provide in the supply base.
Right, right. But as you mentioned, in order to succeed, you need to be aggregators. You need to aggregate more niche services, to have a wide variety in order to be attractive and to enhance your value proposition. We have the next questions very nicely from Mr. Huang Zhipeng, the previous the Ambassador Huang, to Vietnam. Mr. Huang, please.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm not going to ask questions, but I would suggest that we open the floor to our distinguished guests for their possible opinions and questions. This is very important.
Thank you, thank you. 这个在座的有没有这个要提问的？ Because we have the audience all expert, from different fields, so we welcome any questions.
各位好朋友提问、意见或者建议都可以，用中文也可以，因为我们这里有很优秀的中越文的翻译，好不好？比较能够表达更完整，不用客气。可
以举手，我们工作人员会传递。哎，那边有一位，我刚看他在笑，请先介绍一下您，然后你说你是谁，然后你的问题是什么？谢谢。
我是那个殷康，我姓吴，那可以有人帮我们翻译吗？
No problem. I will translate for you.
OK， 我们是台湾最大的风力发电展的主办单位，叫做亚太国际风力发电展。
Oh, okay. They are this Mr. Wu is from one of the largest the offshore wind development developer in Taiwan. You know, the Asia Pacific wind
sorry.
farm.
So we are not a developer. We are the Wind Energy Asia. We are the organizer of the Wind Energy Asia.
Wind energy. You're organizing exhibition.
Which is the biggest wind energy exhibition in Taiwan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Organizing.
We expect to have the 5th edition in next year.
Where will it be held? In Taiwan?
Yeah, in Taiwan, Kaohsiung.
Kaohsiung.
Yes.
Okay, so you see a mini version today.
Yes, we will have a 5th edition in 2023, March 8 to 10 in Kaohsiung. And we welcome our Vietnam friend to organize their delegation to join our exhibition, to visit our exhibition, to have exchange and exchange the business possibility from Taiwan and between Taiwan and Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Mr. Wu is from this exhibition.
Yes.
He is going to organize a big exhibition in May next year.
No, March.
March. Okay.
March 8 to 10.
Okay.
And we welcome the delegation from Vietnam.
Okay.
Who exchange the business opportunity between Taiwan and Vietnam.
Okay. Thank you. So please send the relevant information to SIA.
Okay.
We'll be happy through SIA to invite more delegates from Vietnam as well as other Asian countries.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. 好。And my next question, if there are 有没有人提问？觉得没有人提问。My next question, actually, I have a question, for because for Chunqiao Holding, it's with regard to the connecting and operating offshore wind power with the power system. According to what you just said, when the ratio of grid-connected renewable energy is high, there will be many problems in connection and operation, the arise as a result. So I wonder, do you face such kind of a problem, connecting and operating the offshore wind with the power system, with the power grid? Thank you.
So, Mr. Huang from the Center of the Institute of Energy will respond to this question. So the PDP-8 will set out new design for the national transmission grid in line with all the targets of developing renewable energy in Vietnam. Due to the rapid development of solar and wind energy in the recent period, there will be some congestion in the transmission system. And our statistics shows that about 2 to 3% of the installed capacity of renewable energy projects are congested in the transmission system. So to solve the problem of the connecting the grid with connecting all the offshore energy farms with the grid, So we will develop or expand the transmission system by developing high voltage transmission line to use the capacity of these offshore energy farms. So until 2030, we will develop a big transmission system to connect the north with the central coastal areas with a total load capacity of up to 30 gigawatt. And we think with that, that load capacity will ensure the connection of all the future offshore energy farms with the grid. So in my presentation, I also mentioned that PDP only sets out the areas or regions to develop offshore wind energy without setting the specific locations for the projects. So after the approval of the PDP 8, MOIT and the government will draft a specific development plan in which we identify the specific locations and the capacity for each location and a roadmap to deploy on the potential of each location until 2030.
Okay, thank you very much. My last question, if there are no further questions from the audience, is, we mentioned we saw the introduction of Chunqiao Holdings in both solar and wind, probably more solar for the time being, just like Taiwan, in the less wind. This question is probably to the addressed to the Institute of Energy, in Vietnam. What can you give us? What is the relative percentage of solar in the renewable energy sector? The percentage of solar and renewable energy now, and what do you see the future percentage is now? Maybe, I don't know, 80% solar, 20% energy, the offshore wind or something. I also noticed you have some onshore wind as well. So that's the first question. And the second question is that in this development, what the plan in the future? What do you see as the biggest challenge? Those two questions. Thank you.
We think that the competitiveness of the wind power and solar power is not only at this moment is considered, but it's also considered in the past. The new renewable energies totally can compete with the fuel source energies, especially in the context of the fuel and the coal materials increase due to the war between Ukraine and Russia. And in the future, the source of the fuel can be gas high tax due to the emission of GHG and CO2 nitrates or others emission. At this moment, the price for the solar powers about 5 cents for 1 kilowatt hour, and in the future it can be cheaper. But for the coal power, the cost is very high, more than 100 for a ton. So it's more than 10 cents for 1 kilowatt hour, and the LNG price is very high too. So the wind power and the solar power, offshore and onshore, can compete very well with the traditional power, especially now and in the future. Because in the future, their price will be cheaper. The offshore wind energy, the price is a little bit high. So at this moment, the competitive need of the offshore wind power can start competing with the traditional power, coal power, and LNG cannot compete because the price is very high. So the RO of offshore wind power is higher than the solar power. The challenge of technique to develop the offshore wind power is, I think it's similar to other renewable energies. It is the uncertainty, but the uncertainty can be solved by the technical solution, or we can installing the battery or the reorganizing the operation of the plant. So the technique can be solved in the near future. The PTPS also set up some solution techniques. For example, the building the static hydropower plant, the battery, to have the flexible operation. So for the technical solution, I think it's not a big issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are now thank you very much for all of those online and offline participating in today's Vietnam-Taiwan offshore wind energy webinar. I think through the last 2.5 hours, we had an extremely productive discussion. I think our audience understand the general picture of the offshore wind in Taiwan as well as in Vietnam. And then we also understand the supply chain. We understand the localization requirements. I think my conclusion, I wouldn't say, is that I see that number one, offshore wind has a great potential. Number two, Taiwan and Vietnam are both the two of the most promising offshore wind markets in Asia. Number three, Taiwan and Vietnam in offshore wind should definitely cooperate together. And number four, today, we, the SIA, Southeast Asia Impact Alliance, 东南亚影响力联盟, and also MAMA, 海洋联盟, we are trying to build up the bridge of cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam. As I just said, this is just the beginning. This is so hopefully we will have a series of dialogues in the future. We hope that in the future, 你们可以多给我们指教. You can give us your suggestion, recommendations, and then we will also, in the near future, we will organize trips. We'll organize Vietnam delegates coming to Taiwan, and we will also organize Taiwan delegates going to Vietnam. We have a very, very good connection with the top. So now, as you can see, the 越南的电力部, the 能源局, all the top officials, Institute of Energy are here. We are very grateful for their participation, and we also thank you for Taiwan 能源局, the delegates, also coming today. So I think, as you can see, there are a lot of challenges, but challenges can be overcome. Earlier, the Vietnam side mentioned technical solutions, but technical is not the only thing. I think there are also the commercial side as well as the political side need to overcome. It is exactly that an organization like us, although there are no formal diplomatic relations between Taiwan and Vietnam, but the power of the private organization and through your support can still do a lot of things. With that, I conclude today's forum. Thank you very much, and I look forward to talking with you.
That's also the end of our 2022 Vietnam-Taiwan Offshore Wind Energy webinar. Once again, thank you so much for attending here today. And also, we will send you a link, Google Form, to give us feedback for this event. This is a QR code for the feedback, so you can scan and give us the feedback so that we can organize the next event more better. Thank you.